time for
Is It Racist?
Time for a special Black History Month edition of Is It Racist? That's where I show you a racist clip and you decide if it's racist. This segment has never been more important.
Oh man, you got chicken fingers, you got the whole deal. I went the route of making sure I had the hamburger.
So yes, I believe that was a tad racist.
What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Recording. Perhaps the world is healing as Jon Stewart returned to The Daily Show. And one thing I'll say about Jon Stewart is, you know, I used to watch The Daily Show a million years ago, you know, when he was on. I think he hasn't been on the show in more than 10 years. I don't know. It's been a long time. Jon Stewart has always been a liberal, but at least on his show, he would, in general, at least once in a while, criticize his own, which is refreshing given, you know, you see CNN, MSNBC, or any one of the late night show hosts like Colbert or Kimmel who are literally slobbing the knob of the DNC and have never been critical of them ever once. Well, he returned to The Daily Show last night, and practically the very first words out of his mouth were a callback to why he quit Apple TV, which was that he was not allowed to criticize China or AI. Practically the first words out of his mouth last night were that he was going to talk about China and AI, as well as a scathing takedown of Joe Biden and his insane elder moments that the DNC continues to pretend that we American people, or really anybody around, are too moronic and couldn't possibly understand that people get old. Now, again, people that voted for the guy probably should have figured it out. You know, you knew how old he was going to be. He was already the oldest nominee in my lifetime, maybe ever. They thought this guy was going to run for 8 years. He's clearly lost it, at least in my opinion. Jon Stewart skewers Joe Biden over his shambolic response to the DOJ report that questioned the president's mental competency in his return to The Daily Show after 9 years. Okay, so it's been 9 years. I knew it was close to 10. By the way, real quick, a lot of people mention or ask, what kind of computer I use. Well, the computer I use and the laptop I use is from Meta PCs. Promo code The Quartering, and you'll actually save on your computer too. It's the same computer I recommend to my family, friends, and anyone who asks. It's every computer in my house and laptop, and I've been using them for years. They have excellent customer service. They have military discounts, financing. You can completely custom build your PC, or you can look at their ready-to-ship PC. So when you're ready for a new computer, promo code The Quartering, one word, over at Meta PCs, link in the description to save. Jon Stewart has made an explosive return to Daily Show by skewering Joe Biden over his handling of the DOJ report that questions mental competency. I mean, anybody who's seen a video of him, I don't need the DOJ to tell me the guy's, losing it. The comic 61 immediately ripped the 81-year-old president for his disastrous public appearance since the special counsel Robert Hur's findings were released. He hilarious dubbed him the chocolate chip cookie guy after the commander-in-chief's bizarre comments in his first video on his brand new TikTok page. Stewart demanded he fire everyone and asked how he'd joined the social network that's so popular with young people and seemed to look older. Well, I don't know who advised him that was a good idea, but it might have been the same person that told him to buy fried chicken for black folks for Black History Month, which is a real thing he did. He aired clips of the then ex-president talking about Trump. Of course, he doesn't like Trump. Nobody's surprised by that. But the mainstream media is melting down. Stewart opened the Monday night show called Indecision 2024 Electile Dysfunction by saying, "Now, where was I?" He then quickly delved into the blockbuster political talking point of last week, Biden's mental capacity. The comic launched into a 20-minute monologue on the 2024 election and the huge pitfalls of both Biden and Trump. "Fire everyone," Stewart declared after noting how instead of doing a sit-down with CBS before the Super Bowl, Biden's team started a TikTok instead. How do you go on TikTok and look older? Stewart reacted to the video they posted by discussing the Super Bowl. He then showed footage of the disastrous presser Biden held Thursday after the DOJ report said his memory was failing and had diminished faculties. So Joe Biden had a big press conference to dispel the notion that he has lost a step and, politically speaking, may have lost 3 to 4 steps, Stewart joked. He then played clips of various Democrats, including Vice President Kamala Harris, saying that Biden was sharp. Did anyone film that, he asked? That would be good to show people. Stewart then laid out the case against the age of both candidates, as Biden 81 and Trump 77 are the oldest candidates in history. And I'm not going to pretend that age isn't an issue for Trump. I mean, he would be 81 at the end of his presidency, potentially 82, I guess depends on where his birthday falls. Joe Biden, however, will be 85, potentially 86. We can already see right now today that he doesn't know if he's coming or going. He doesn't know if he needs to turn left or right. He seems completely oblivious to what's going on around him. He seems pre-dementia. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. I'm just saying everyone knows that grandpa or grandma starts to kind of go a little bit. They have their good moments, their bad moments, and that's just a part of getting older. If he wasn't the president of the United States with his finger on the button, I'd say like making fun of him would be stupid. I mean, he's 80 years old. Of course he's going to have those moments. But why did you vote for him in the first place? He said the two candidates are both similarly challenged, Stewart declared, and it's not crazy to think that the oldest people in the history of the country to ever run for president might have some of these challenges. We're not suggesting either man is vibrant, productive, or even capable, he added. We're both stretching the limits of being able to handle the toughest job in the world. He demanded a space for making both candidates' age and mental acuity an issue in the election, while frequently joking about his own aging. What's crazy is thinking is that we're the ones as voters who must silence concerns and criticisms. It's the candidates' jobs to assuage concerns, not voters' job to not mention them. We have two candidates who are chronologically outside the norm of anyone to run for the presidency in the history of the country, breaking the record that they set. He also made it clear to his traditionally liberal audience that he didn't see Biden and Trump as equally bad. Well, of course. He then goes on to bring on all the normal tedious stuff that you would think. But like I said, this is the state of media. At least he mentioned it. At least he's mentioning it, which nobody else will do. Jimmy Kimmel won't do. Who's the other loser? What is his name? Colbert won't do it. He said the stakes of this election doesn't make Donald Trump's opponent less subject to scrutiny. It actually makes him more. If the barbarians are at the gate, you want Conan, the barbarian, standing on the ramparts, not the chocolate chip cookie guy. If your guy loses, bad things might happen, but the country's not over. I actually like that part of the message. If you look at his monologue, which is uploaded to YouTube, it has 130,000 likes in just 13 hours, and the comments are overwhelmingly positive, which is not always the case for people who are, definitely far to the left. The thing about Jon Stewart is he will generally at least, mention the obvious, for crying out loud, the obvious stuff that we're all seeing about whoever's the president, right? Of course, the mainstream media is having a meltdown. Daily Beast writes, Jon Stewart uses the Daily Show in return to equate Trump and Biden. In his long-awaited return to hosting The Daily Show, Jon Stewart made almost no distinction between America's two elderly presidential candidates. Well, there are none. There are none, really. I mean, they're both old. One of them's been suffering the full weight of the weaponization of the Justice Department at the hands of the Democrats, and the other has been suffering the full weight of the cloaking system of the Democrats, keeping him off camera, scripting everything, giving him 47 takes to do a 40-second video. I mean, it's endless how obviously brain dead this guy is, in my opinion. The fate of The Daily Show was never more uncertain than in the weeks leading up to Comedy Central's Hail Mary decision to bring back Jon Stewart. On one hand, the show had just won its first Emmy since Trevor Noah took over. He sucked, by the way. No one watched the show. But on the other hand, it was still without a permanent replacement for that loser. Then, after Comedy Central delayed the show's post-Christmas return from early January to February 12th, announced that it was essentially the end of its year-long search for a host, one insider at the show predicted to me the network might be running out the clock until potential Paramount merger in order to kill the show altogether. But The Daily Show was still very much alive, brought back Jon Stewart. Stewart teased that in the coming weeks and months, he would likely be using his Reclaim platform to talk about China and AI, the two topics reportedly that caused Apple to cancel his show on the service, as well as something a little lighter like Israel-Palestine. But for the first show back, he used Sunday night's Super Bowl as a way to get down to business on the race between Biden and Trump. These effing guys. Over the next 17 or so minutes, Stewart's laid out the battle between the two men, notably using footage of Trump and his adult children failing to recall various basic facts during their own depositions, after Biden was tarred as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory by special counsel Robert Hur this past week. Yes, it turns out the leading cause of early onset dementia seems to be being deposed. Well, that's probably true of all sides. Stewart made a point to mock Biden's age-related gaffes just as aggressively as he did Trump's, including everything from the president's unfortunate mix-up during an angry press conference that was intended to dispel his concerns to the bizarre TikTok videos he decided to post that made him look older. Stewart famously left the Daily Show in 2015 when Trump was still the joke of a candidate who recently descended to a golden escalator. While no one, including Stewart, thinks his comedy bits could have done anything to stop Trump from becoming president, he said he wanted to return this year so that he could have some sway over the 2024 discourse. So far, it seems this sway includes using his old platform to tell Americans that their two choices for president are both not that different and equally terrible. Wah, wah, wah. Wah. The Hill, Jon Stewart skewers Biden, Trump, and the Daily Show return. What the F are we doing here? Look, I think we could all agree. I think the South Park, giant douche and turd sandwich analogy has never been more true, right? And, look, I've said this, I'm open about this. Yes, I voted for Trump, but I also voted for Obama, and I also voted for whatever libertarian candidate it was when I was 18 or whatever the first time I could vote. And I'm not loyal to any D or R or L party. I try to pick the best candidate. And yes, I did vote for Trump the last two elections. But I've been open about the fact that I like him a lot less now, 8 years later, than I did in 2016, right? But he's still leagues better than Joe Biden. At least he knows where he is. At least he can hold a conversation. At least he's clearly sharp. I don't care how many Adderall he's got to jam down his throat. I don't care. Joe Biden I don't know who's running the place. So, the reaction of mainstream media to have this meltdown that he would dare even lightly criticize Joe Biden tells you everything you need to know. The entire machine is working to shield you from the truth about Joe Biden, and that is that he is no longer fit to be president, in my opinion. Now, whether or not that means you vote for Trump or not, I don't care. I just want you to vote. Right? You should vote for whoever you want. And by the way, you shouldn't hate other people for the way they vote either. It's your choice. That's the right of, if you're an American anyway, you vote, that's your business. I don't care who my viewers vote for. I would never tell you who to vote for. But I think that even, privately, if you and I were just hanging out at a bar and you had voted for Biden in 2020, I feel like you would admit, like, this dude you might be like, oh, I hate Trump. I can't vote for Trump. But I mean, I understand that, and I'm not telling you to, but I feel like you could at least admit that Joe Biden's it's time for him to retire. And the DNC doesn't even want people to even mention that, which probably tells you, at least in my opinion, it's far worse than we even know. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.